the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
She definitely said Cheez-Its that
Did
time.
you? Yeah, she did. Definitely. She's talking about snacking.
I always say Cheez-Its.
You never say
Of
Cheez-Its.
course you do. That's all you do. You're actually a spokesperson for Cheez-Its.
You never say Cheez-Its.
By the way, that would be a really great commercial campaign. It's just somebody like stubbing their toe and they keep cursing, but they're saying Cheez-Its.
You should go into advertising. You've got a lot of these commercials.
You want to know where all the inspiration for my advertising comes
What's
from?
that?
You guys. So
So we'll go in with
so
you.
who's coming with me? Who's coming with me?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Biofriendly Podcast is officially done. We
We're
are
done.
going into
That's it.
advertising.
Let's go. Let's
Oh,
go.
some Dorcas membrane
What?
brought his phone with him and
You-
didn't put it in airplane mode.
Put it on airplane mode.
Yeah. So what I'm getting right now, just so everybody knows. Okay, I'm just gonna turn this off. What's happening is the World Cup is today.
Yes.
If you're watching on the video,
They're watching today as we release. It's Friday now, but when we're recording this, there's more World Cup today.
yes,
Yes. And you're wearing what jersey?
I'm wearing both an Australia hat and an Australia jersey. For those of you who are partaking, gotta get the light in my eyes.
Yes.
Partaking in the video version of the podcast, and that's because at the time of recording, not the time of release. So this is old news for much of you, but for us, it's very fresh. Australia.
Soak it in.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Oi, oi, oi! We very impressively and victoriously won 1-0.
Hey.
Against
in
Denmark.
soccer, that's still a win, baby.
Against Denmark, who's a really good team. Very, like a quality side that was definitely supposed to get out of this group, possibly even win this group.
Yeah.
And we beat them. We beat them, and
Congratulations.
we had to beat them too because
This was it.
The Tunisians who were on the other side playing the other game, if they won and we didn't beat them, then they would go. So we were like, we had to beat a better team today, and we did it.
You did it.
Unbelievable.
Congratulations, Australia.
So much excitement. And yesterday, the United States of America, not of Australia, but of America,
Okay.
they won.
Yep.
They beat Iran.
Yep.
And so this is the first time I believe. I know that Australia in 2006 made it to the round of 60. I don't think USA did that time. I think
So
this is the first time that both of my teams, both of my countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will they ever face off with each other?
Well, so here's the crazy thing.
Because that would
They
be
both
wild.
are going to have an incredibly difficult game next
Okay.
time. So it's likely that Australia has to face either Poland or Argentina. Both are very good in the
Okay.
first round,
Okay.
and then somehow beat one of them.
Right.
And then the U.S. plays Netherlands, who are also very good, and they would have to somehow beat them. However, in the, of course, very likely event that they both win those games, it's USA versus Australia in the quarterfinals.
What would you even do? Split yourself in half?
I would wear an Australian hat and a USA jersey, and I would watch patiently with excitement. Do you want? Okay, so here's the deal.
I want to know.
I love Australia
Yes.
with all my heart,
Sure.
and I'm going to root for them every single time, except when they play the USA.
There you go.
Because this country's been good to me. I know people say that a lot. And I know it's kind of like
He passed the test. He passed the test. He's allowed to stay in the country. We don't have to take him out.
People sometimes get a little like weird when you get overly patriotic, but you got to remember that we're immigrants.
Yeah, of
right.
course,
My
right.
mom and dad moved here.
Right.
So we came here for a great opportunity. We received a great opportunity, and we've done. It's been a good country to me.
Yeah.
I was born here. I was raised here, and
Right.
though I spent a lot of time in Australia, this is my country.
your home.
This is my home.
Well, that was a test.
So Australia, I love you, but I do have to pick USA in that game if it comes to that.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but I have like 5 government agents like right outside that door, and I had them ready. They have their earpieces on, and if you answered incorrectly, you were out of here, pal.
Outta here, buddy.
Out of here. They were
Outta
like,
here.
we want to make sure who you're rooting for, the USA.
That's right. That's right. And USA is better also. I will say. Look, Australia's been
Good. They're
amazing.
doing good.
They're having an amazing tournament.
Yeah.
Their first game they lost so badly to France that I thought, oh God, this is going to be a
disaster.
terrible thing for
Yeah.
them. And then they won their next 2 games, which is like, wow,
Right.
way to go. So I'm just I'm over the moon for Australia because I was
Yes.
not expecting any of this.
Yes.
For the U.S., I actually was expecting them to do pretty well because we got a really good squad.
Really good team.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of reasons to be excited today. We have that, so that's good energy in the space.
Good
And if
energy.
you're watching the show, you will see we have holiday decorations up.
It's beginning to look a lot like
Christmas. It is glorious.
got the talk bubble.
We do. We have the Christmas light
Made in
talk
red,
bubble.
white, and green.
And we even had the
Greatest
tree.
thing I've ever seen.
We even had the tree.
And you see, we even have a tree.
We had it out of frame, but Noel got on his belly and
On my
scooted
belly.
it gradually over.
And Jacob was watching the shot. He's like, I gotta get it in.
I was like, this is great. And the government agents were also watching the shot.
They were. Everybody
Yeah,
was.
we were all
But
admiring. I was like, he's a patriot.
Yeah, but we got it in.
We got it in.
You made sure that it was in the frame, that it
it's-
was good, that
it's
we
in
were
the
ready
shot.
to go.
So if people watch the show, which, we know that the bulk of our fans, fanatics, bio heads that are out there that are chanting our names, you guys are listeners because you're like, I have to drive in the car. I have to go for a run. I have to lay in bed. I have to ignore my children and listen to the Biofriendly Podcast.
Yeah.
And
or
so,
include them. Some people include them.
but I don't
We're
recommend
not
that.
talking about them. No. We're talking about the people who ignore their children.
We want people to ignore their children. No, all the people who listen to the show listen. But if you do have the chance and you want to go over to our YouTube, you can watch the clip of the show and you can see that we are very festive today, as well as Noel's Australian.
I think it should put you in the season, in the spirit.
It puts you in the season. It does. You have to admit, Veronica, you have to agree. It just immediately, doesn't it just brighten the mood? Like when the lights go up and the tree goes up. It just
Yes, it really does. Especially at night. I like when it's just so shiny, so bright.
so shiny.
I
so bright.
love
I love it.
Christmas lights.
I really do. I
mean,
love them too.
my word.
My
We're
word.
And everybody goes, now we got a deer licking his own butt down the street.
Yeah,
on,
we
on
do.
Lake.
On
And-
Lake Street, they have a reindeer, it's like one of those wireframe
Yes.
Christmas light standees that you can take down, put
yes,
up, right?
It looks like it should be on the top of a trophy. Like
Right, yes.
its feet are very together and
Yeah.
it's kind of head back.
But it's licking its
also
butt.
definitely head
Definitely.
back but down, definitely licking its own butt for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, it's definitely going. What's back there? What's going on? Yeah. Which you can do that during Christmas. That's fine.
But it's so bright and crystalline white.
it is
with all the lights.
that you don't mind it at all. You're
Not
like
at all.
get
Like,
after
oh, lick that butt, buddy.
Go on,
You're
Comet.
a reindeer. You do what you got to do.
Comet and Cubit, and Donner and Blitzen.
Yeah, they're all on the avenue.
They are. They're all on the avenue. Well, I am excited for today's show because I found a pretty cool topic.
What?
But before we get into that, is everybody doing well?
Sorry.
Everybody doing?
Carry on. You pal.
Everybody doing well?
Great.
Living the
Great.
dream.
Living the dream?
Yes.
We're all in good spirits.
Yes.
So, we have an interesting topic today because it's causing strife in the scientific community.
Strife.
They're debating.
Should we solve it for them?
We're going to solve it.
All right, we'll
Today
solve
we're going to solve
We're
it
going to
because
answer the questions so the scientists don't have
I think
to.
all you scientists that listen to this show that are ignoring your children and listen to the show, start paying attention to your children. 1, 2.
Yeah, it's good.
We have a subject today that is causing strife, but I think in classic Biofriendly Podcast form, we will answer it. We will
answer it.
solve it.
We'll
And
solve
by
it.
the end, there'll be two sides, and they'll go, get over here. And it'll just be hugs.
You were right. You got it figured out.
I can't stay mad at you. So,
All right.
the headline today
Okay.
is, are trees talking underground? For scientists, it's in dispute.
Wow.
Right.
All right.
Have you heard of this notion of trees communicating underground to each other, like they're all working together, right? Have you heard this concept?
Some certainly are.
Yes, they are.
Some certainly
Absolutely.
are. You can't, there's that. A little bit of it's undeniable. Whether or
Yeah.
not they're all doing it or
Right.
all can do it, I have no idea.
Right. So this is where this all began. So Noel and I are diehard fans of Ted Lasso.
Oh, yeah.
So on Ted Lasso, it even got boosted up because one of the characters, Coach Beard, gives this great speech about how trees, we work together. And it's caused this term to spread amongst
I'm sorry
people.
to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but one of my dearest friends from college and
Me?
and well, no.
Okay. I'm right here.
No, I don't look at you
We're,
that way.
we're colleagues only. Colleagues only. No, your dearest friend.
No, Scott Hutchin.
Yes.
Yeah, so he sends every once in a while. He'll send Brendan Curtis. Is that Brendan? His name's Brendan something.
Brendan.
The
guy who plays Coach Beard.
Coach Beard.
Yeah.
He'll send like videos of him doing a podcast or whatever. I was like, hey, look, Noel's doing this because when I've got the beard
when
out,
you have the big it's the reddish beard,
it's a
and
reddish
that you
beard,
guys
and we both have, I think, kind eyes.
Kind eyes. I think that's it. I think that's the only comparison because
it's very funny.
I've heard it said before. You know, I've heard people say like,
Is
"Oh,
it
no,
rude
it
of
kind
me
of
to-
reminds you
Go
of
ahead.
Coach Beard." No, I was going to say it's similar, but I think it's the red beard and I think it's the eyes, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I really don't think you look like the guy. I think it's the kindness and the beard.
I think he's a handsome guy, so it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to be too put out.
All right.
Yeah, but it was interesting
Yeah.
because now it's a thing now.
Yeah.
Noel stars in Ted Lasso as Coach Beard.
That's awesome. He's a friend of Kevin Wheatley's, so they're buddies.
I
They
should
go way
meet him,
back.
and we should hang out. We should hug and take a photo.
We
People
should.
say doppelgangers.
We should get the beard and the Noel together.
That's it.
So
That was a distraction. I apologize.
No, it's fine. You were about to say, "Is it weird?" Were you talking
Is
about?
it weird that I called my own eyes kind? That was me. That was kind of area. Here's the thing. My wife said one of the reasons she married me is because I had kind eyes.
It's not weird. If you can't love yourself, who can you love?
That's a good point.
You know
I
what I
should
mean?
love myself more.
You have to love yourself more.
I think I'm gonna get more into me.
It starts here, because then you can give it to everybody else.
Oh, I can.
Right?
I will give this love,
I have spent my entire life
this kindness,
working on that part first. So I'll get there eventually. I'll love the rest of you at some point, but I gotta love this guy. I'll get there.
You'll get there.
Get there.
I feel like you're starting to love you.
Starting to love me a little bit.
Yeah.
But this has coined a term. This conversation that was on. It's been on TED Talks, Ted Lasso, TED.
Yeah.
It has caused a term to spread amongst the scientific community called the Wood Wide Web.
The Wood Wide Web.
Isn't that great?
I love this.
The Wood Wide Web.
I love this.
Okay. Few recent scientific discoveries have captured the public's imagination quite like the Wood Wide Web.
All right.
A wispy network of fungal filaments hypothesized to shuttle nutrients and information through the soil and to help forests thrive. The idea sprouted in the late 1990s from studies showing that sugars and nutrients can flow underground between trees.
Mm-hmm.
In a few forests, researchers have traced fungi from the roots of one of those to the have traced fungi from the roots of one tree to those of others, suggesting that mycelial, maybe. I don't know. Suggesting that mycelial threads.
The writing is tiny.
It is very tiny.
And I'm not good at spelling bees.
Okay.
So what you just said meant nothing.
Okay, suggesting that mycelial threads or mycelial threads could be providing conduits
Let's
between
go with
trees.
mycelial.
Yeah, it sounds
like
more
that's more
sciencey.
likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, either way, the scientific community is wincing as I'm trying to.
Well, they won't wince when we solve this.
Yeah, exactly. So they reference, they say, as Ted Lasso's Coach Beard articulated, that they make forests fundamentally cooperative places with trees and fungi united in common purpose.
Right.
A dramatic departure from the Darwinian picture of interspecies competition, right? So and it shows up in Avatar, the big plot of Avatar.
Right.
So this is great.
Yeah,
and
that guy's soul. Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen Avatar, but in the last
they're like
20
12 years late.
Yeah,
It's
they're
been out for a long time.
Well, in fact, it was so long ago that people are going to be like, well, I don't even know what Avatar is.
I know there's a sequel coming out, and they're like, "What is Avatar?"
Is this
it's a long
this
time
is
ago.
a second one?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the dude's soul went through the tree.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's how well it communicates.
That's how they can communicate with trees. And we love trees, and we've talked about them so much on this show. But so this has caused an issue, and the reason why I chose to talk about it today is
it anger?
Well, no, not anger, but there's a lot of scientists coming forward, and they're going, "Hey, wait a second.
Hey,
stop it.
Hey,
stop it." So it says, but as the Wood Wide Web has gained fame, it has also inspired backlash amongst scientists.
Okay.
So some of these peers are coming forward and are going, one of the scientists said, I was worried because my 8th grade son came home and was like, did you know that all trees talk to each other and communicate to each other? And she was like, whoa. Exactly.
Yeah.
Her 8th grader, who's enjoying a nice imaginative day at school, is quickly being stifled by science.
This is why scientists shouldn't have children. Right. They ruin imagination.
I know, kids like, isn't that magical, Mom? And the mom's like, no, No, it's not true. No, just kidding.
You want to, if your children are listening,
Yes.
plug your ears.
Plug your ears.
Plug your ears for 15 seconds.
Okay, go for it.
Can you imagine being a kid of a scientist at Christmas time?
Yeah.
And you're talking about the magic of Santa?
Totally.
God.
And they're like, Mommy, I can't wait for Santa. And they go, well, actually, son, let's talk a little bit about.
Let's just break down
the
how
logistics
possible
of
this
all
is.
of this. And this kid's
And you're
just
like, the kid's like, man, Mom, you gotta understand magic, and you obviously don't. You
gotta
suck.
chill, Mom. Like, there's a time and a place, right?
Golly.
Come on.
Yeah.
So they come forward and they say most plant roots are colonized by mycorrhizal fungi, forming one of the Earth's most widespread symbiosis. The fungi gather water and nutrients from the soil, then they swap some of these treasures with plants in exchange for sugars and other carbon-containing molecules. So, by the way, this is all coming from New York Times, Gabriel Popkin, this article that he did, and this came out this month. So this is hot up the press,
fresh.
Yes, absolutely.
Fresh.
So this is where. It grew. I highlighted a bunch of things here where this theory grew in the 90s and 80s, all these books, and it became one of the most popular things. Like there's a TED Talk video with 5 million views about the Wood Wide Web. So people really want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But as the Wood Wide Web's popularity has soared both inside and outside scientific circles, a skeptical reaction has evolved. Last year, Catherine Flynn, an ecologist at Baldwin Wallace University in Ohio, and Dr. Simmerd and others. University of Ohio argued in Scientific American that Dr. Simmerd and others had exaggerated the degree of cooperation amongst trees and forests. Most experts, Dr. Flynn wrote, believe that groups of organisms whose members sacrifice their own interests on behalf of the community rarely evolve, a result of the powerful force of natural selection among competing individuals. Okay, so she's saying that can't be the case. Because what we've studied over time in history is if that a species is willing to sacrifice itself for the well-being of others, it doesn't make it over time.
Okay.
That's one of her
Keep going.
theories.
I'm just
Okay.
the computer's running. I'm ready.
Okay. So it says instead she suspects fungi most likely. So she goes, fungi most likely distribute carbon according to their own interests, not those of trees. That, to me, seems like the simplest explanation, she said in an interview. And they go on to talk more and more about, whoa, we're not sure how deep this thing goes. And I could read a bunch of that stuff, but I'm really curious what you are thinking right now.
So far?
Yeah.
I don't think that all trees are the same any more than I think any of any species are the same.
I think you're right.
So I'm not sure that every single tree on Earth shares nutrients and communicates. And I think, though, just to clarify for the audience, like what we're talking about for communication is, like redwood trees
Right.
are a terrific example of a tree that doesn't itself have a massive root system.
Right.
It just doesn't.
Yeah.
It stays up. It stands up because so many other redwood trees are around it, and then they all intertwine. And they work with each other to help keep each other standing during crazy windstorms and things like that. Mm-hmm. And those redwood trees that are near the creek or the water source or whatever send water up to redwood trees that are farther up the hill that don't always have. I mean, often there's water there too, but if they don't have access, they'll get it. They'll share it.
Yeah.
So this is an example of a symbiotic forest.
Yeah.
Where they are absolutely helping each other out. They're surviving with the help of the other trees that are around there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case of a palm tree in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like a palm tree in Hawaii, that thing roots in tight, has a big old floppy top, and it doesn't matter how much the wind blows, it's going to hang on. Yeah. And it doesn't really need the support of other trees and doesn't, it's not, or a coconut tree, I should have said, But like that, it's so I don't know that one's communicating with other trees. Yeah. And by communication, we just mean tree on top of the hill, low on water. I'm going to pass some of my water. Oh, now I'm a little low. Let's give me some. And then on the way all down, and they all communicate with each other.
Exactly.
And help. And that's what you mean. It's not like the trees are saying, all right, there's a hiker walking along the bottom there, and he looks like a real Nazi.
Let's take him out, right?
If you fall down, you can kill him.
You can kill him, and we can finally take him to the world. 2, 1. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think
not that. But then to answer the other one, I mean, there are lots of herd and hive species on the planet. Yeah. Ants sacrifice themselves all the time for the good of the hive. Yeah. and the hive lives on.
That's true.
And the ants continue on.
That's
So
true.
I dispute the scientists.
I think she needs to go back to
Assertion.
school. No, but what I was going to say is, so this is what I found as I went through it. We're about to switch into a completely different conversation, because what I found was I think that they're saying the same thing. It's just the approach that's happening between these scientists.
Okay.
So one of these doctors, Dr. Karch, said it's highly likely that shared fungal networks do exist in forests. In 2012, a study, Dr. Simmert's team found identical fungal DNA on the roots of nearby Douglas fir trees. The researchers then sampled soil between the trees in thin slices and found the same repeating DNA segments known as microsatellites in each slice, confirming that the fungus bridged the gap between the roots. But that study did not examine what resources, if any, were flowing through the network, and few other scientists have mapped fungal networks with such rigor, which I love that word, rigor. But this is what's happening. The fungus are key. The fungus are one of the most important parts of this communication. And this is a huge part.
This sounds like we're talking about fungi talking to each other more than trees talking to each other.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is they're saying that it's not just about water and resources. It's about choosing and giving and selecting to different species.
Right.
So the fungi...
Different species?
I mean, giving to different trees.
Okay.
So they're saying that like one group of trees is doing that for the rest of the trees, and the only way they survive is this, that's how trees work.
Right.
But then, as I dug in deeper, they're saying, no, that's not necessarily how it always works, but we can see that fungal networks are making it happen all the time. So there's two camps, and they're not listening to each other. Because one is saying there's a world wide web of trees, and the other group is saying, no, that's not true. Only some, and others do not. And then there's another party that's like the fungus links all of them together. At least that's what I extrapolated.
That's a fascinatingly weird argument.
Right.
Because you're saying that, no, the trees can't do this, but mushrooms can?
Yes, for the trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, if mushrooms can do it, why can't trees?
Yeah, right. So, and that's what I think is the interesting question, is that probably the trees are too.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's where I'm heading with this.
Yeah.
So far, I
Yes.
feel like this is a lot happening together.
Totally. And so what? And I'm not a scientist, so I don't understand it. But what I noticed
But you
from
play one on TV.
I do play one on TV. What I noticed from this was there's this whole, everybody's talking about how trees are talking to each other, and these scientists are getting frustrated because their kids are coming home, they're watching Ted Lasso, they're going to Avatar, and they're going, that's not true. But I think that they are looking at a very narrow thing and saying we're getting carried away.
Yeah, on what communication is and what's what do you
Exactly.
Well, how are you
what
defining
communication?
This? Yeah.
How are you defining it? Are we tying? Because if you're going to call it the Wood Wide Web, what does that mean in terms of communication? But I think
Right, you can't plug into a tree,
right.
send a file, and
All the way
expect
over
that it's
here.
going to end on the other side of a tree.
Right.
I think that is something that would be very confusing if a child thought that was possible.
Exactly. And so these scientists are getting frustrated. But I think that they should go, hey, wait a second. Unless,
Go ahead.
here's the exciting thing.
Unless you can figure out how they're doing it, and then you can send the data.
And we're closer.
Okay.
So this is why I started us off with the doom, like the meow, meow, meow. This study is coming out right now at the same time. Check this out. The electrical language of fungi.
Sounds snappy.
I'm a fungi.
You are a fun guy.
You're a fun
and
guy.
you are electric.
I'm electric. I'm a fun guy. Do mushrooms talk to each other?
We should have done this in Zubatsian.
Oh,
the
yeah.
electrical language of fun guy.
Totally. The electrical language of fungi. He's a fun guy.
He's a fun guy, and he talks with electricity.
Do mushrooms talk to each other?
Of course, guy.
A new study suggests that they do through the use of electrical signals, and their language is complex. So this is what's really cool to me.
Yeah.
There has got to be a connection between what the fungus mushrooms are doing and the trees are doing also.
Sure.
Okay? In observing the spikes of electrical activity in particular species of fungi, computer scientist Andrew Adamatsky at the University of West England found patterns that were strikingly similar to human language.
Wow.
Mic drop. Through experiments, he translated the spikes into a lexicon of 50 words based on patterns typically associated with human speech.
Okay.
Decoding. The electrical signals responded to changes in the environment, such as food and injury, according to the paper published in the Royal Society of Open Science. To record this activity, Adamansky attached electrodes to 4 species of fungus. Now, check out these 4 species of fungus, because this is the movie in the making, right?
Okay.
Ghost, enoki, splitgill, and caterpillar.
Those are good.
It's
quality.
I want to play the video game or go see the movie that's about ghost, enoki, splitgill, and caterpillar.
Which
the 4
which house
electric mushrooms.
Which house are you in?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in Ghost.
Yeah, I'm definitely a split gill.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. You're such a split-gill.
I'm such a split-gill.
Which one are you, Veronica?
Caterpillar.
Caterpillar. Yeah,
Caterpillar.
you feel the caterpillar feel. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely, caterpillar. Now, thank goodness we don't have any enokis in here, because you know enokis are trouble.
Well, enokis are... look, not every enoki has gone dark.
This is true.
But all dark mushrooms come from enoki house.
Volder tip.
That's right.
And I didn't mean that to come out the way that it did. I apologize for that.
I'm sure it went over the heads of anybody
Okay,
who would be bothered. Yep.
And monitored it. So he monitored every second over 24 hours. The findings revealed that each species had its own way of communicating. So all 4 of them, as they would, they're different houses, for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
Okay. So, for example, while enoki fungi used a rich spectrum of diverse patterns of electrical activity, exhibiting low-frequency, irregular oscillations, the split-gill fungus transitioned from low to high amplitude spikes. That's you.
That's me.
And was one of the fastest spiking species Adamansky recorded in all his experiments.
Thank you.
So this is what's so cool about this. He goes on to say, in syntax, if we could plug into mycelial networks and interpret the signals they use to process information, we could learn more about what is happening in an ecosystem. So this fungi can report changes in soil quality, water purity, pollution, or any other features of the environment that they are sensitive to. Yeah. So when I read this article, I was like, this guy is proving by measuring with fungus what they are capable of. And I think that these other scientists are saying we don't have enough proof to say that this is how they're communicating or how they're measuring their environment. And I think he's beginning to find something that's going, they very well could be. If everything on this earth is the same, then, I mean, it comes from life, it's life, then we may not be measuring it the right way, right?
Here's what I would say.
Okay.
Do you believe in evolution or not?
Okay, I do.
So if you're going to tout the values of evolution and adaptation of species and going from a single-celled organism that lucked into existence all the way to what we are today,
Yes.
then you have to acknowledge that the capacity to communicate exists
Yes.
because we're doing it right now.
Right now.
So if we're doing it now, then why couldn't there be a simpler form of it doing more basic things
Yeah.
in another species somewhere else?
Yeah.
Of course there would be.
Yeah.
Because that's what, I mean, if we evolved to this, there's a reason that we evolved to this. Mm-hmm. So I think it is not only possible, I think it's probable that he's correct.
Yeah. I think so too. And I was going to say, hold on, let me fix this real quick.
He's just bending over, ladies and gentlemen, and it was just great.
Great. I was going to say, do you know what this reminds me of?
What's that?
This reminds me of the episode that we did on forest bathing. And you find time and time again in research, and I mean, this is probably just the nature of the beast of research, right? Of people in scientific fields and studies. They would find people to go into forest, Japanese forest bathing, and they would go in there and they'd find their blood pressure lowered, their heart rate slow, their stress levels, all the dopamine and everything. It did wonders for them biologically, mentally. It did good things for their health. And during all those studies, there were always scientists that were saying, well, you are away from noise. You are away from stress. And they were giving all these really concrete examples and saying, you could probably take the person and put them in this environment. Maybe it has nothing to do with the trees themselves or being in nature. And it seemed like that they were kind of saying, I don't want to get too caught up into the wonder of nature. And when I was reading this article, I felt like there's an aspect of science that you can't dismiss the wonder of being alive and sharing the planet with life, and we're all alive, and it's this symbiotic relationship, and there's a bit of magic to it all.
Life is the confusion. It's the confounding factor of the whole thing.
The whole thing.
It's the whole. And if you can't accept the fact that we are in fact alive right now,
Yeah.
like we think, therefore we are.
Yeah.
Right. That there are things that are moving of their own volition all around this planet, or are growing.
Yeah.
With no other explanation other than they are alive.
Yes.
And we have no flipping reason how, and we have no flipping reason why.
Right.
We don't know.
We don't know.
It is magic.
It's magic. And it is.
It just is.
It is.
Life is, people think there's no such thing as magic. We're talking to each other right now in a room. It's magic.
It's magic. It's magic. And that so that to me is why I brought this in today, because I thought, being an environmentalist and being in an environmental podcast, and we talk about world issues, we talk about things on this planet. But one thing I want to light a spark and light a fire underneath for young people, adults, everybody who's like trying to care for this planet is there is a poem by Walt Whitman, I believe. And he says, when I heard the learned astronomer, and he's talking about, he's going on the graphs and the numbers and the data of the sky. And he's like, and then I walked outside. I'm paraphrasing. I can't quote Whitman.
You're
off
not
the top
quite.
of my
You
head.
don't have this one memorized.
Don't have this memorized. He says, when I heard the learned astronomer and blah 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 blah, and then he says, and then I walked outside and I looked up at the majesty of the stars. And so he's basically saying, like, we can spend a lot of time measuring, quantifying, and trying to figure out this, but every now and then you got to just stop and look up at the stars and be like, holy moly, that's incredible. And I want to embrace a sense of wonder and joy, and I think that only inspires people to want to care for a forest more if you believe that they're going, hey, these humans really kind of are ruining things sometimes. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't quite understand why on the extremes. There's extremes everywhere. Mm-hmm. So maybe I do understand it just because that's how we are. But on the extremes of science, it's like there could be no creativity. There could be no magic. Right. And on the extremes of art, it's like there could be no. It's all magic. It's all wonder. It's all. And I think probably still the greatest scientific mind I think in history is probably Einstein. Still, I would
absolutely.
say. Was able to observe things and create a lot of incredibly useful, practical applications for what he observed scientifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yet he also has hundreds of quotes about how you can look at the dawn and in seeing so, how could you not believe in a God?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like how could so the idea, like I think that we have to remember that it isn't always one thing or another. It can be.
Yeah.
You can enjoy the majesty. You can enjoy the magic and excitement of life, but also want to understand it.
Yeah.
Also want to know why.
Yes.
Also ask the questions.
Yeah.
And also look into how it's going, and then what does that mean? Once I've figured out this observation correctly and proven it, what can we do with that?
Yeah.
How can we create more magic?
Yeah. Yeah. We're not all ones and zeros. It's the variable. I mean, I know I quote this movie often, but the whole idea of the Matrix was the reason why the simulation would prove false, right? Was that it was too perfect and there was no room for error or mistakes or unusual things to happen or unpredictability. Yeah. And like that's the entire human experience is that there's room for, I don't know what's going to happen next. It's not predictable. And so in a world like that, in a life like that, and in nature, in the forest, we may not be able to measure it yet, but I do think it's a fascinating idea that all things in nature are communicating to each other, and we just don't know how.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That was the cool part. And
we solved it.
We solved it, and then I brought in. I just thought this was cool because it was like knowing about fungi. Because you're a fungi, I'm a fungi. You're a fungal. Fungal. That's like just really fungal. So. This is pretty cool. What are fungi? We know about them as mushrooms and all that stuff. If it says, if anything, they are our ancestors. An astonishing revelation is that fungi are more closely related to animals than plants. They may look like plants, but do not photosynthesize. Instead, they are heterotrophs like animals. That is, they cannot produce their own food and depend on others for energy. It's pretty interesting.
That's very interesting.
If you're wondering what fungi do, they are the master decomposers that keep our forests alive. If we did not have fungi to help in decomposition, all life in the forest would be buried under a humongous buildup of dead plant matter. They have been here the fungi are the most antediluvian forms of life is understood.
Antediluvian means before the flood, for those of you who are
Is that
confused.
what that means?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
That
cool.
means basically old AF.
Old as AF. Yeah. Yes, it says life is understood from fossil records. Mycelium fossils have been discovered in lava in South Africa, estimated to be 2.4 billion years old.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is we should listen to the fungus, listen to the trees. It's all alive, and stop being so cold-hearted.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree.
I think it's cool.
I agree with you. If there's evidence that these fellas are communicating with each other, I think that understanding that could give you a better glimpse into how we got where we are. Mm-hmm. And are there better ways to share data, to communicate? Are there other means with which to do it? It's fascinating. Yeah. Also, maybe you start to get a closer glimpse into understanding life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I also I'm one of those people who thinks that there are some limitations to the brain at present, and that over time you'll unlock level unlocked.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You unlock new capacity based on what was discovered by those before you.
Yeah.
And then what you can then discover, right? Yeah. So there are some concepts that people have a real hard time with infinity. I say that all the time. Yeah. People have a real hard time with some concepts that you would really, truly need to, I think, understand in a very intimate and deep way if you wanted to understand life. Mm-hmm. Just because it's too much. It's like, how could that even be?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that there's some stuff that we just have to understand that we got to get there.
Yeah.
And that maybe, we're not ever going to die.
Yeah, we're never going to die.
No.
We're immortal. And I don't know if we made that clear on the show, but Noel and I are Highlanders, and we've been here for like 3,000 years already.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But for others, it may, you may not figure out all of the answers to life this time around. But hey, if we're lucky, maybe there's more to it than this.
Yeah. Absolutely. So and honestly, if there are listeners out there that are in this scientific field of study, and I've done you dirty because you're like, no, that's not what we're saying. We're saying this. This article definitely painted it as though there's a group, a gang, bullies. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, there's a bunch of real bully jerk scientists.
They're going around and they're just kind of saying, "Hey, I think we're getting carried away with this notion," but I don't know.
And to defend them, I think we go back to earlier what we were saying, which is you've got to be careful how you explain things.
Sure.
Because I don't think it would be accurate to go saying to kids that you can run out into the forest and those trees are having wonderful conversations with one another.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, by the way, that we won't discover one day that they aren't.
Yeah.
Maybe they are.
Maybe they aren't. Yeah.
But as of now, there's no evidence that's saying they're doing anything more than sharing some resources.
Yeah.
And keeping each other alive.
Yeah. And I think that maybe the heart behind these scientists is saying, I'd really love to celebrate with you, but I want the hard data.
Yeah.
I want the facts before I can celebrate with you.
Right.
And I think...
I don't think people are going to be transferring their souls through trees anytime soon.
No. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about that. You're not plugging in your laptop to get your tree-fi.
Yeah.
But I think in this day and age, in the year 2022, almost going into 2023, where we are working to inspire, there's no harm in children or people going to movies or reading a story or watching a TV show that convinces you that the trees are interconnected and they work together. Even if it is a little bit of a leap, you know what I mean? I feel like even if it's a little bit of a creative leap, it's like I don't see any harm in convincing a lot of people that we have every reason to protect and preserve and make sure it doesn't die out and get chopped down every turn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's a good stretch of the truth.
I think it is better to assume the possibility that it's true. I think you can learn a lot more and get a lot more information if you observe that more closely. I think if we talked about ants a while ago.
Yeah.
I would be very intrigued to have somebody examine how hive mind works.
Yeah.
And how much like how aware is the queen that an individual ant has died in a certain place?
Yeah.
And how quickly was that queen aware, right?
Yeah.
And then how was that passed? Were there electrical signals?
Yeah.
Was it just a physical communication? What was it?
Yeah.
Is it a hormonal communication? Is
Right.
it what is it?
Yeah.
Because it's fascinating.
Yeah,
We can
it
find
is.
out a lot more about the nature of existence.
Yeah. There's this cool viral video of this guy. He's holding the queen bee in the palm of his hand, and his entire arm is just the entire hive of bees because they know the queen's in his hand. And I saw that, and I was like, that is amazing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. She's in his palm like this, and they're just resting. His entire arm is bees. That's incredible to me.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? Like something that small is like, she's in there. We're not going anywhere.
We're here.
We're
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
We're not going anywhere, dude. You've got our queen.
Yeah.
So that's the hive mind that I think is so fascinating.
Yeah.
But that is the show. I brought in a strife, but I think we did exactly what we aimed to do, which is we solved it, scientists. You need to chill out.
Don't shut the magic.
Yeah.
Don't shut the magic.
Yeah.
And, know that you're exaggerating sometimes.
Yes. Know that you're exaggerating because it feels nice.
Yeah.
It feels nice. It really does. If sometimes if you take all the magic out of everything, people kind of tend to lose the inspiration and motivation. You got to have a little magic.
Yeah, and the scientists who have the magic are always the ones who get famous.
Yeah,
like those are the ones everybody wants to watch. The
Yeah.
ones who just they're like, and can you imagine what this means?
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Dream a little bit. Dream a little bit. But anyway, that has been the Biofriendly Podcast. We love having you listening to this show and want to keep growing and keep spreading our wings and flying and soaring above the world. And we want to get to space at some point in time. And we'll get there.
One day, we'll send a monkey to space.
I can't wait. I can't wait. So please share with your friends and family. Give us those reviews. Tell your friends. Share the clips. We post all sorts of cool stuff. And follow us on all of our social networks. And if you want to hear a subject, I know I still owe that guy the logging one, so that one's coming soon. But we're probably going to be focusing on a lot of holiday-centric stuff, so maybe we'll do that one in the new year. But or maybe not. I don't know. I guess you'll have to check every week. You'll never know.
That's just
Keep you guessing.
tuned.
Stay
That's what you
tuned.
gotta do.
So we have been your beacon of light in a gloomy environment.
Jacob's brain is constantly rebuilding itself.
Don't be environmentally gimmicky.
This guy's got bubbles.
And featuring Todd Watersocks.
Ghosts are sexy?
Yes, I think so, right?
Oh, take the W and move on.
Almost. We assume on this show.
Ghosts are sexy.
That's it. And then now I feel terrible to say, but we had Thanksgiving. There's been World Cup. We put up Christmas decorations. I've completely lost the new ones. Do you have it?
Beavers are
awesome. I don't remember. We said beavers are great.
Yeah, they are.
Beavers
it has to do with the fact that we like beavers.
Yeah,
we're big fans of beavers.
We like beavers.
We like beavers.
We think beavers are pretty
we
good.
do think. And then we had another one that we tacked down there that was
Which
like
is the one that with the solar panels
Yes,
that he had
it was-
the nanogram map.
Yes, it was like we know our microns.
Yes, we know
Right?
our microns.
Right? Or something like that?
Yes.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah, we know microns.
We know microns.
We know microns.
That's what it was. But I mean, if we don't like it, we can
I mean, I think that the struggle of figuring those out is kind of fun for the end of the year here. We know microns.
The end of the year
It's
is
those last
hilarious.
couple that you only say once or twice before the year's over.
And then
Those
it's
are
all
always the hard
and
ones.
then we start over again. So thank you, Noel.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you.
And what do you have to say?
Have a lovely time.
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.